People's Temple. This was a religious organization founded by Jim Jones in the 1950s in Indianapolis, Indiana. Initially, it promoted racial integration and social justice, aiding people experiencing poverty and attracting a diverse congregation. Over time, it evolved into a cult centered around Jones, who claimed psychic abilities and presented himself as a messianic figure. In the 1960s and 1970s, the temple expanded to California, gaining political influence and engaging in social programs. Amid rising media scrutiny and abuse allegations, Jones moved the temple to a remote settlement in Guyana, South America, in 1977. Named Jonestown, it was intended as a socialist paradise, but was marked by harsh living conditions and Jones's increasing paranoia and control. In November 1978, U.S. Congressman Leo Ryan visited Jonestown to investigate concerns from relatives and defectors. As Ryan prepared to leave, temple members ambushed his group at the Port Kaituma airstrip, killing Ryan and several others. Following the attack, Jones initiated a mass murder-suicide. Over 900 members, including children, died after drinking cyanide-laced Flavor Aid. Jones died from a gunshot wound, likely self-inflicted. The Jonestown Massacre remains one of the most significant mass deaths in American history, highlighting the dangers of cult dynamics and charismatic leadership. Shinriyo. A Japanese doomsday cult was founded by Shoko Asahara in 1984. The cult combined Buddhism, Hinduism, and Christianity elements with apocalyptic beliefs. Asahara, who claimed to be Christ and the Lamb of God, predicted a global Armageddon and positioned Om as the sole path to salvation. By the late 1980s, Shinriyo attracted thousands of followers, including highly educated individuals and scientists. The cult amassed considerable wealth and resources, enabling them to acquire advanced technology and weapons. Asahara's teachings became increasingly violent, advocating for the elimination of enemies and non-believers to purify the world. In 1995, Shinriyo gained international notoriety for orchestrating a sarin gas attack on the Tokyo subway system. On March 20th, cult members released the deadly nerve agent during rush hour, killing 13 people and injuring over 1,000. The attack was intended to hasten the apocalypse and assert the cult's power. The Japanese authorities quickly responded by arresting Asahara and other key leaders, leading to the cult's dissolution. The aftermath of the attack exposed the cult's extensive criminal activities, including previous murders, kidnappings, and attempts to manufacture biological and chemical weapons. Asahara and several top members were sentenced to death, while others received lengthy prison terms. Heaven's Gate. A cult formed in the 1970s by Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles blended Christian, New Age, and extraterrestrial concepts. They claimed to be earthly representatives of a higher alien race, guiding followers to transcend their human forms and ascend to a superior existence. Believing Earth faced imminent recycling, the cult preached departure to a higher plane through the evolutionary level above human. Members lived in strict codes, forsaking earthly attachments like family, sexuality, and possessions. In the 1990s, Heaven's Gate fixated on the Hale-Bopp comet, which they interpreted as a sign of an accompanying spaceship. They prepared for a mass exit, recording farewell videos and readying themselves for suicide. On March 26, 1997, 39 members, including Applewhite, were found dead in a California mansion. They had consumed a lethal mix of phenobarbital and vodka with plastic bags over their heads. Clad in black and Nike sneakers, they wore armbands, reading Heaven's Gate Away Team. The group's mass suicide, carefully planned and executed, stunned the world. Manson Family. In the late 1960s, amidst the countercultural revolution, a group of individuals united around a magnetic figure named Charles Manson. This group, initially a loose community living on a California ranch, evolved into a cult-like following known infamously as the Manson Family. Manson, a charismatic but deeply disturbed man, captivated his followers with a blend of hippie ideology, apocalyptic visions, and promises of spiritual enlightenment. The group's secluded lifestyle, drug use, and Manson's mind-control tactics created a toxic environment of submission and manipulation. Manson wielded immense influence over his followers, exploiting their vulnerabilities and insecurities to maintain his grip on power. His ability to exert control over vulnerable individuals, coupled with his apocalyptic fantasies, led to the execution of horrifying acts of violence. The Manson family's reign of terror ended with their arrest and subsequent trials. Branchvidians. A religious group originating from the Seventh-day Adventist Church gained notoriety in the early 1990s due to the tragic events that unfolded in Waco, Texas. Led by David Koresh, born Vernon Wayne Howell, the group believed in an apocalyptic interpretation of the Bible. The Branchvidians established their compound, Mount Carmel, near Waco, Texas, as a communal living space where members could prepare for the end times. However, their beliefs and practices attracted scrutiny from law enforcement and concerned individuals. In 1993, the situation escalated when the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives attempted to execute a search warrant at the Mount Carmel compound, suspecting illegal weapons possession. The raid led to a firefight resulting in the deaths of 4 ATF agents and 6 Branchvidians. The confrontation sparked a 51-day standoff between the Branchvidians and law enforcement agencies, including the FBI. Despite negotiations, the standoff ended in a catastrophic fire on April 19, 1993, which consumed the compound. 76 Branchvidians, including David Koresh, perished in the blaze. Among them were women and children. Rajneesh. In the 1980s, followers of Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, a charismatic Indian guru, established several communities in the United States, notably in Oregon. Rajneesh, also known as Osho, attracted followers with his teachings on spirituality, meditation, and free love. His teachings emphasized individual enlightenment and breaking societal norms. One of the most notorious incidents associated with the Rajneesh movement was the bioterror attack in 1984. Followers contaminated salad bars and local restaurants with salmonella to influence a local election. The attack sickened hundreds of people and raised concerns about the group's intentions. Amid mounting legal troubles and internal conflicts, Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh was eventually deported from the United States in 1985. The Rajneesh communities disbanded after his departure, and the properties were sold off. Despite its controversial legacy, the Rajneesh movement left a lasting impact on spiritual seekers and alternative communities. Solar Temple. This was a secretive cult founded in the 1980s by Luc Jouret and Joseph Di Mambro, rooted in a blend of Christian, New Age, and occult beliefs. The cult attracted followers who sought spiritual enlightenment and salvation. Central to its teachings was the belief in an impending apocalypse and the need to transcend earthly existence. Tragically, the cult gained notoriety due to a series of violent incidents that culminated in mass suicides and murders. In 1994, 53 members of the order, including children, were found dead in Switzerland and Canada. The deaths were staged as a combination of ritualistic suicides and homicides, orchestrated by cult leaders who believed they were facilitating the soul's transition to a higher plane of existence. Investigations into the cult revealed financial fraud, manipulation, and coercion tactics used to maintain control over members. The cult's leaders exploited their followers' vulnerabilities and fears, promising salvation in exchange for loyalty and financial contributions. Villa Baviera. Formerly Colonia Dignidad, is a notorious compound in Chile. Founded in 1961 by German immigrant Paul Schaefer, it began as a religious commune with a rural focus. However, it developed into a cult-like organization characterized by isolation, abuse, and human rights violations. Under Schaefer authoritarian rule, Villa Baviera became a closed society cut off from the outside world. Members were subjected to strict discipline, forced labor, and psychological manipulation. Schaefer used fear tactics and propaganda to maintain control over his followers, many of whom were German expatriates seeking refuge from post-World War II Europe. The commune's facade of religious piety concealed dark secrets. Schaefer sexually abused children and enforced strict celibacy among adults, asserting himself as the only male permitted to father children within the community. Dissent was met with punishment, including solitary confinement and physical torture. The cult's true nature was exposed in the 1990s when former members began speaking out about the abuses they endured. Investigations uncovered evidence of child abuse, human trafficking, and weapon stockpiling. Schaefer fled Chile to avoid prosecution, but was eventually captured in Argentina and deported back to Chile, where he was convicted of child abuse and other crimes. Today, Villa Baviera is a tourist attraction and memorial to its victims. Realism. The Raelian movement, founded in 1974 by French journalist Claude Vorilhon, who later adopted the name Rael, is a UFO religion that promotes the belief that extraterrestrial beings created life on Earth. Raelians advocate for world peace, human rights, and the pursuit of scientific knowledge, often blending elements of spirituality with advanced technology. Central to Raelian theology is the concept of Elohim, interpreted as advanced extraterrestrial scientists mistaken for gods by ancient civilizations. According to Rael, these beings genetically engineered life on Earth, including humans, through cloning and other advanced biotechnologies. The movement emphasizes free love, sexual freedom, and the pursuit of pleasure, rejecting traditional religious taboos regarding sexuality. Despite skepticism and opposition, the Raelian movement continues to operate internationally, with adherents organizing events, conferences, and outreach campaigns to spread their message. The movement's combination of futuristic ideology, spiritual beliefs, and advocacy for social change, distinguishing it as a unique and unconventional religious movement in the contemporary landscape. Cargo. They are a religious and social phenomena that came up in Melanesia, particularly in the South Pacific Islands, during and after World War II. They developed among indigenous populations who encountered advanced Western technology and goods or cargo for the first time. The term cargo cult describes a belief system in which adherents participate in rituals and practices aimed at obtaining material wealth through supernatural means, often emulating the behavior of Westerners who bought these goods. During World War II, the South Pacific became a strategic military theater. Allied forces, especially Americans, established bases and brought vast quantities of supplies and technology. Indigenous islanders, observing the influx of goods such as food, clothing, and machinery, associated these items with the foreigners' rituals and behaviors. The dramatic contrast between the technological sophistication of the Westerners and the traditional ways of the islanders led to the perception that the goods had divine or magical origins. In response, cargo cults formed, characterized by the replication of observed Western behaviors and rituals in the hope that these actions would result in the return of the cargo. Followers built makeshift airstrips, imitated military drills, and crafted radios and airplanes out of local materials, believing these imitative acts would summon the cargo-laden planes back. Leaders of these movements often assumed prophetic roles, promising the return of the cargo and the prosperity it would bring. Over time, the term cargo cult has expanded in usage to describe any group or practice that mimics the superficial aspects of a process without understanding its underlying principles, often with the hope of achieving similar results. This broader usage underscores the enduring fascination with the concept and its implications for human behavior and belief systems.